Hi, everyone. Welcome to Alternavita. Thank you for joining me today. I have a new post and I'm wrapping up the wheat germ series. I hope you've learned a lot from it. I certainly did, and I hope it helps you. So I really hoped to be able to end the series on a with a post on the overall nutritional benefits of wheat germ and wheat germ oil, but that information was virtually non-existent unless I could maybe look in food science or something, but generally I would be able to find that almost immediately with any other supplement. But there were only a few research papers that I shared that had a basic nutrition profile. So instead, I am wrapping up with drug-induced diabetes and how that ties into the last post about C15, or wait, yeah, was it C15? What is it? An amino acid? No, an essential fatty acid. And processed foods in general, and then I'll go on to read this and tell you and start it back in the beginning how fructose affects causes metabolic syndrome, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and diabetes. Fructose being a toxin is going to tie in with this end article of antibiotics and other drug-induced diabetes and metabolic syndrome and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So first I wanted to say about last week about continuing a little bit how this is such a racket. When you think of processed foods and how they have been stripped of all nutritional value, wheat certainly is one. And then the wheat germ and the wheat germ oil become a waste product, and then the waste product becomes a commodity, gets sold to drug developers, and then they use the food substance to create drugs, and then they use the pharmaceuticals to induce the negative effects. So that's a double gain for them. You could even say a triple gain because they reduce the nutritional content of the food. So someone might say, well, why I'm not against making processed foods better, but in the end, it ends up hurting you even more because the more processed foods enter the shelf, the more the good whole foods end up disappearing and become even harder to find. And I've seen it with milk and yogurt, and it's wheat and bread is no exception. And I've also seen it with tons of other foods. So most people would be familiar with salt and how salt is stripped of the minerals and then they put the iodine back in. And that was probably one of the first industrial processed foods that people are familiar with. But wheat, rice, sugar, and salt, basic staples, are the ones that have led to the most problems, and the problems that go back in history the longest. So that's why it ends up affecting you. And just in the case of yogurt, last week I shared a video where taking the whole fat out of milk has made it pretty much a worthless substance. And I've said that all along, that skim milk is not good. And you should always try to get the whole fat milk when you can. And that was just one of the reasons. That new essential fatty acid that's being sold as an expensive supplement. So that's just one example. But when it comes to wheat germ, what led to this was the model for diabetes. Usually in the studies that I have found about wheat germ, the model for inducing diabetes is usually antibiotics. So antibiotics have been hailed as one of the greatest medical advancements of the 20th century. However, their widespread use has brought about a host of unintended consequences. Well, I'm disputing that. One of the more concerning potential outcomes is the development of metabolic disorders, such as diabetes. This relationship is complex, multifaceted, and involves alterations in gut microbiota, immune system dysregulation, and even direct effects on insulin and glucose metabolism. So, destroying good bacteria has deleterious effects, and one of these is diabetes. So it decreases diversity, and that is usually what they find in diabetes. It impacts insulin sensitivity. It impacts the ability to produce short chain fatty acids. And dysbiosis also promotes low-grade inflammation. So regarding immune system dysregulation, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition where the immune system mistakenly attacks and destroys insulin-producing beta cells. And one of the speculations in one of these research papers is how wheat germ in their combined product it helps preserve beta cells. So type 1 children who develop type 1 have different composition of gut bacteria, and antibiotic use, particularly in childhood, may disrupt the development of a healthy microbiota, increasing the risk of immune system dysregulations and subsequent development of type 1 diabetes. Weakened immune response can lead to chronic inflammation. So that's type 1. So direct effects on glucose metabolism. They've been found to interfere with insulin signaling. Antibiotics have been found to interfere with insulin signaling, leading to insulin resistance. And they can alter the expression of genes involved in glucose metabolism. Certain antibiotics can decrease the expression of genes that promote glucose uptake in muscle cells, leading to higher blood sugar levels. Use of antibiotics has also been associated with weight gain. And then the impact on early life antibiotic exposure is when they explore the relationship. They find antibiotic use in early life, particularly during infancy and childhood, may have more significant impact on the development of diabetes compared to antibiotic use in childhood. This is because the gut microbiota is still developing during these early stages of life, and any disruption can have long-lasting effects on metabolic health. Studies have found that children who receive antibiotics within the first few months are more likely to develop obesity and insulin resistance. And it alters the normal development of the microbiota. Early antibiotic exposure may affect the development of the immune system, increasing the risk of autoimmune diseases such as type 1 diabetes. So, common knowledge today. Antibiotic resistance. The more potent the antibiotics, the more the microbiota gets disrupted. So, in conclusion, while antibiotics are indispensable tools in modern medicine, their negative impacts cannot be overlooked. The relationship between antibiotic use and the development of diabetes is complex, involving disruptions to the microbiota, immune system dysregulation, direct effects on insulin and glucose metabolism. Early exposure appears to have significant impacts on metabolic health, increasing the risk of obesity, insulin resistance, and type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So there you have it. And then some of the other drugs in here that also can induce metabolic syndrome, diabetes, and non-alcoholic fatty liver. Actually, that would be any drug, but in particular are antipsychotics, and I forget the one that they use to induce breast cancer, but it's in the source material in this post. And then, so to wrap it up, the benefits of wheat germ primarily are on inducing autophagy, restoring the mitochondria, higher than average or highest amounts of vitamin E, naturally occurring vitamin E, the ability to help make glutathione, specific enzymes. I forgot the second one, but the first one is superoxide dismutase, key enzymes. And let me just think a minute here. And B vitamins, thiamine. So wheat germ and wheat germ oil are extremely nutritious and beneficial foods. And regarding nutrition in particular and gut microbiota formation, if you've seen the critical info and read it over and over, wheat germ also helps produce interferon. So that's another thing. If you've seen the critical info and have read it, as many times as you should, you would know that one of the main issues is inability to create energy. So they know that from infancy in the non-breastfed children, inability to get energy from food and create energy is a critical dysfunction. And then secondly, going along, another thing about frankenfoods is composed of whole foods. Just when speaking of colostrum has lactoferrin. There is no way that lactoferrin alone compares with colostrum. PRPs, which are also sold as a supplement, and I've tried. They are in no way comparable to the whole product colostrum. So this is just one more thing in the vicious cycle. And it ends up, you're already severe acute malnutrition, which is SAM. The acronym is SAM when you haven't been breastfed, and this impacts your entire life. It does not repair itself. So not only are you impacting your nutrition from the get-go, you're impacting your nutrition further with these nutritionally bankrupt processed foods. So they have a double entry gain by causing the malnutrition with processed foods, and then they prescribe the medicine that either induces the condition on its own or increases the negative effects of what you already had inherently. So, and then they sell you the drugs to do it over. So they have a double entry gain, and you have a double entry or triple entry loss. So that's just the bottom line. So here at Alternavita, I never forget the bottom line. I never forget the foundations, and I never recommend whole food in place of gut health, but give you the best whole foods supplements that have the greatest impact on your health because they are whole food supplements. And going back to the beginning of Dr. Robert Lustig and his famous saying that drugs can never affect the mitochondria except negatively. They can destroy the mitochondria, but they cannot reach the mitochondria. Only food can reach the mitochondria. So, okay, and then I'm going to share another video with you of it. I watched that gave a really good explanation of how the morbid obesity happens and what happens that you actually create more fat cells. So I thought that was interesting, and he explained it very well. So I'm going to include that in this particular post and wrap this wheat germ series up. And I don't know what the next medicinal food will be. I might do another one on the history of wheat just so that people can realize this has been impacting people for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Just like sugar and just like processed rice. Okay, everyone, thanks for your time. I'll see you next time. Bye.